Hey, how's it going? I'm Coach Kyle, and today I'm going to go through my thoughts, experiences, etc. with 1,000 miles on the Atreyu base model. And this is the pair that the company recommends just a couple hundred miles out of. So I'm going to talk about the company, the subscription service they offer, the shoes, and my expectations going into this pair, and my experiences after 1,000 miles. So let's dive in. If you don't know, I'm Coach Kyle, and I work with adult distance runners all over the world, optimizing your running, your strength work, your nutrition, bringing it all together with great accountability and motivation, and sprinkling in some gratitude practice and mindfulness. So let's dive in with this shoe review. Okay, so Atreyu is a fairly new running shoe startup based out of Austin, Texas. It's just a few people down there they have their own little warehouse. They're direct to consumer. That means that when you buy a pair of Atreyu shoes, you don't go down to your local running store and purchase them. You go to atreyurunning.com, you pick your size, and with sizing, they say go with your typical shoe size. And I found that true for me as well. We usually wear a 10. I think I have a couple 10.5s. I have a couple 9.5s. I went in the middle and it was perfect. So go with whatever shoe size you typically wear. They package them up and they send them right to you from their warehouse, and that keeps the cost down. That's why these shoes are only $55 subscription, $75 single purchase, and they have some killer colorways. So if you like some flashy shoes, but if you like some more simple designs, they've got something for you. As you can see here, 6mm offset. That means the heel is 6 millimeters higher cushion-wise than the midfoot. Now they're around, I think, 26 to 20 millimeters. So not minimal shoes, not like ultra cushioned either. They're kind of right in the middle. They're that nice sweet spot. And they are a neutral shoe. Now it says you strike here, but if you have a midfoot strike, you can see that I have like a glancing rear foot strike where I'm not like massively heel striking, but I've got a little glancing rear foot strike right there, and I'll often wear these for my easy runs, and I tend to maybe heel strike a little more, not overstriding. There's a difference between easy runs and harder workouts. So one thing to note is that these are super cheap. Like I said, they have that subscription service where you can get a new pair every 2 months. They let you change the colorway up, but part of the way they keep these shoes super light as well. They are only like 6 ounces. They're eye-catching. Like, that's kind of a cool colorway. And so somebody sees these pairs, and I've taken them off and I've handed them to another runner, and the first thing they always say is, wow, these are light. They're super light. And part of how that happens is because the upper is a very simple design. No fancy overlays or things glued onto other things. They're simple shoes. This all the pattern is like dyed into it. It's not glued onto it. There's a little bit of a toe guard right here. Otherwise, that's it. So the upper is super light. Now, there is an insole in there, and it is glued in. You could probably tear it out if you wanted to. The midsole is a midsole. That's it. There's no like heavy glued on rubber on the bottom. So that does reduce the durability of the shoe, but that is part of how the shoe is so inexpensive and light. It's easy to make. There's not a bunch of weird, complicated things glued on to the bottom or the top. It's just single piece of EVA foam that you're running on. And you can see that it does wear away quicker. So that's why they say, hey, you get maybe a couple hundred miles out of this. Now, I'm not one to get a couple hundred miles out of anything. So I've gotten 1,000 miles exactly out of this pair based on my Strava. I've really enjoyed them. I've really enjoyed running in them, to the point that I do have another pair here. This is the Battle Lies Within, and it has 500 miles on it. So you can see that the wear is pretty consistent with the two shoes. They've held up pretty well. There is definitely some compression, some wear right there, but overall, I just found they kept getting comfortable as I ran in them. So I kept running in them. I mean, it did get to the point where I had to kind of force myself to rotate shoes, where I was only letting myself run in this pair every other run. Otherwise, it would have been every run I would have been in this pair because I just found they got more comfortable with wear. Early on, initially, they weren't my favorite pair of shoes, honestly. The sole was kind of stiff. I felt like they've widened up over time, and maybe that's partially due to the compression of the midsole, the underfoot. It's widened up a little bit. The upper softened up a little bit, but it took about 50 miles for me to really feel like, yeah, this is a shoe I am hoping to run 1,000 miles in. And the upper held up pretty well, honestly. You can see this pair has 500 miles, and the upper is totally, completely, fully intact, which is not always super common. Sometimes you'll see people, they get wear points where the shoe creases right there or over here, and this is not happening in this upper because it's just like a single piece sock-like upper. There's no hard points that are really bending. I do have a tear here, and that is from scraping against a rock. There is a little bit of tearing here, and I admit I took these on some terrain selections that I should not have. They are horrible trail shoes. Do not take these on anything but like a gravel road. There is absolutely no support in these whatsoever. This shoe is very much, it's so light that it's very much like your foot is not wearing a shoe. It's kind of like just you're wearing a sock, and when you step down onto the ground, the sole is just waiting there for you to touch down on. It's so light that, you know, if you're coming from like a Hoka or a pair of like Brooks Glycerin or something, these are literally, both shoes are the same weight as a single pair of like ultra cushion shoes. So that's one thing you'll notice right away. I did say that I do like to have a rotation, and that is because I think that the rotation is part of why I can run so many miles in individual pairs of shoes. I'm not only running in that individual pair of shoes. I've got this pair, I've got this pair, and even though they're the same model, there's 500 miles difference between these. So they're not the same shoe, even though they're the same model. And in each shoe, in every different pair of shoes I wear, my feet are moving, the muscles and the tendons are loading a little differently. So it's spreading out that wear and tear, not only on the shoes, but on my legs. So it's not just like the same movement, the same loading points every single run. And I believe that will lower your injury risk. And I believe it lets you run in individual pairs of shoes for more miles. So that's a really important, helpful thing to keep in mind. So I mentioned that these are not trail running shoes. Now I have ran on them on gravel, and I actually really love running on gravel roads, gravel trails like the Mickelson Trail out here in South Dakota. These are fine for that. But anything technical where you're gonna wanna be like holding your foot in place, these are not the shoe for you. You're gonna want something more like this Ultra. Now you see a typical trail shoe, they've got support in there. They've got strong uppers to really hold the foot in place. This shoe is made for forward movement. It turns fine, but you're not going to be wanting like pivoting on rocks, you know, maneuvering around sharp points, roots, etc. in this shoe. I've done a lot of track workouts, tempo runs in this, and this shoe is it's kind of in that sweet spot. You know, when you look at all these like carbon fiber super shoes, like the brand new Atreyu Artist here, which I have a video coming up, a video review of this coming up soon. They're cushioned, but they're light. And this is cushioned and light. Now it's 26, 20 some millimeters in stack height. So it's, again, it's not a minimal shoe. So you're not gonna feel every rock, every pebble that you're stepping on. It does provide some protection under the foot, but it's super light. So this is a perfect, if you're not wanting to invest or buy some like crazy expensive shoe, this is a really awesome track workout, tempo run, racing type shoe, because again, it's cushioned, but it's light. So if you're one that typically uses like maybe a supportive type shoe for a lot of your long runs or some of your workouts, you might benefit from trying out the Atreyu shoe because it's neutral, it's not minimal, but there's not much there. So it could be a good, like, easy short run shoe for you. And like I said, that variation is often helpful and healthy for your foot health. And so having a more protective, a more cushioned, more supportive shoe for some of your running, but once in a while going into a lighter, more minimal shoe could be good for your feet. So like I said, this shoe is super awesome. I had to kind of force myself to run in other pairs of shoes because I enjoyed it so much. And I really encourage you to give them a shot. Check out Atreyu on Facebook and Instagram. They're super responsive. And one of my favorite things about this company is that you're not just buying from some random company. Like, I don't know anybody that works for Saucony or Asics or Adidas, but you go to Atreyu's Facebook page, their Instagram, you're gonna see stories with the people working, with the people who have packaged up these shoes to send them out. The people on their Instagram stories, they literally touched these shoes and sent them to me. It's a small company, and I think that's really cool, especially with myself coming from the small company that was Skora. Atreyu reminds me a lot about the early days of Skora, when we were literally like doing everything. And these guys are doing a great job. So check them out at atreyurunning.com, and I really encourage you to give them a shot.